Chapter 2, Background Checks and Criminal Records. What shows up on a criminal background check in Canada? A criminal record or criminal background check in Canada provides different levels of disclosure depending on the situation and the depth of the background check. The results of a police background check or criminal record check in Canada may include the following output: a complete record check, personal information, charges that led to convictions, and charges that resulted in non-convictions. Only a conviction history and personal information, or confirmation that a criminal record exists with no details. What is a local police criminal record check in Canada? A local police criminal record check searches its databases and the CPIC databases of criminal records controlled by the RCMP. The local police criminal record check will output the following: charges that result in a conviction, charges that result in a non-conviction. In other words, charges that were withdrawn, dismissed, stayed, acquitted, diverted, absolute discharges and conditional discharges, charges that are pending, and details about alleged incidences that did not result in charges. Each police agency has a policy about what information to disclose, usually based on the purpose of the police check. Typically, a local police criminal record check or police background check in Canada is requested for employment, promotion, and travel purposes. What is a vulnerable sector check in Canada? In Canada, a vulnerable sector check includes local police information check and a search to determine if the person has been granted a pardon or record suspension for a sexual offense. Vulnerable sector checks in Canada are mandatory according to the Criminal Records Act. Vulnerable sector checks were created to protect children and the vulnerable. Vulnerable sector checks are generally required for those who volunteer or work with children or vulnerable persons. Per the Criminal Records Act, anyone under the age of 18 is considered a child, and the term vulnerable people refers to people who are vulnerable due to their age, disability, or other circumstances. A vulnerable sector check must be conducted by the police in the applicant's community. In British Columbia, only the British Columbia Criminal Records Review Program can conduct the vulnerable sector check. What is a criminal record in Canada? In Canada, a criminal record is a record of someone's involvement with the criminal justice system that begins with the police. If you were charged under the Criminal Code of Canada, you will have a criminal record in the Canadian Police Information Centre database, which is referred to as CPIC. The CPIC database is controlled and managed by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which is known as the RCMP. When someone conducts an RCMP criminal record check or background check in Canada, that check will search the RCMP's CPIC database. If you were convicted of your charge, you need to get a pardon or record suspension to remove your criminal record from the CPIC database. If you were charged but not convicted, you still have a criminal record that will show up on a background check in Canada. You need to get a file destruction in Canada to remove traces of your criminal charge from the CPIC database and the local police database. Does every interaction with the police result in a criminal record? No, not all interactions with the police result in a criminal record. A criminal record is generated when an interaction with the police happens in relation to a crime defined in Canada's Criminal Code. For example, if the police charged you with a traffic offense or parking ticket, those interactions are not criminal and are not covered by the Criminal Code of Canada. Those non-criminal interactions with the police will not generate a criminal record. Next question. Where are criminal records in Canada held? Criminal records in Canada are stored in various databases. If you were charged with an offense defined under the Criminal Code of Canada as an indictable or hybrid offense, then your criminal record would be stored in the RCMP's National Repository of Criminal Records. If you were charged with an offense categorized only as a summary offense, your criminal record would be stored in a local police database. A pardon or record suspension is needed if you were convicted of a crime. This will allow you to effectively hide your criminal conviction from a police record check, police background check, and criminal check in Canada. If you were not convicted of a criminal charge, you need to get a file destruction to remove traces of your criminal charge. Doing this will ensure that your RCMP criminal record check or background check in Canada comes back clean. What is a CPIC criminal record check in Canada? A CPIC criminal record check is a criminal background check in Canada that is used for various reasons, including employment, volunteer work, adoption, immigration, foreign travel, and name changes. CPIC stands for the Canadian Police Information Centre. CPIC is the computer system used to search for any trace of criminal activity. The CPIC check for employment and volunteer work is one of the most common reasons a CPIC background check is ordered. How do I know if I have a criminal record in Canada? You will have a criminal record in Canada in the following situations. If you've been convicted of a crime under the Criminal Code of Canada, then you have a criminal record. If you were charged with a crime under the Criminal Code of Canada but have not been convicted, then you have a criminal record. If the police fingerprinted you, then you have a criminal record in Canada. If you were not fingerprinted but charged under the Criminal Code of Canada, then you have a criminal record in Canada. If you were a suspect in a criminal investigation, your name and date of birth would be kept in police files called incident reports. Even if criminal charges were not filed, a police record search would disclose that you were involved in a criminal investigation. I was charged but not convicted in Canada. Will my charge show up on a police record check or on a background check in Canada? Yes. The fact that the police charged you will show up on a criminal background check or police record check in Canada, even if you were not convicted. When you get charged by the police, that charge will generate records in various criminal justice system databases. At a minimum, those records will include details about your criminal charge. In most cases, the records will also include fingerprints and photographs. If you are not convicted, those records do not automatically disappear. You need to take steps to remove those records, which is called getting a file destruction. If your file destruction is approved, all traces of your criminal charge will be removed. This will result in a clean police record check and background check in Canada. Do I need a pardon or record suspension in Canada if I received a conditional discharge? No. You would not need a pardon or record suspension in Canada if you received a conditional discharge. A conditional discharge is a finding of guilt, but there is no conviction. If you received your conditional discharge after July 24th, 1992, the RCMP would automatically remove your record from their criminal records database 3 years after you got your conditional discharge. If you received your conditional discharge before July 24th, 1992, you must contact the RCMP 3 years after your conditional discharge to remove your record from their criminal record database. Do I need a pardon or record suspension in Canada if I received an absolute discharge? No. You would not need a pardon or record suspension in Canada if you received an absolute discharge. An absolute discharge is a finding of guilt, but there is no conviction. If you received your absolute discharge after July 24th, 1992, the RCMP would automatically remove your record from their criminal record database 1 year after you got your absolute discharge. If you received your absolute discharge before July 24th, 1992, you need to contact the RCMP 1 year after your absolute discharge to remove your record from their criminal record database. Do withdrawn charges appear on my criminal background check in Canada? Yes. Even though your criminal charge was withdrawn, your charge will appear on your criminal record check or police background check in Canada. You need to take steps to remove your criminal record. Getting your criminal charge withdrawn means the Crown believed there was no reasonable prospect for a conviction. So ultimately, the court withdrew your charge. A withdrawn charge is referred to as a non-conviction. The RCMP's criminal records database, known as the CPIC system, still contains information about your non-conviction, such as fingerprints, photographs, and information about your charge. The RCMP's CPIC system is used for criminal checks in Canada, which means your non-conviction will show up. To remove traces of your charge, in other words, fingerprints, photographs, and other information about your charge, you need to get a file destruction. The file destruction will destroy all traces of your charge, so your police background check or RCMP criminal check will come back clean. Do stayed charges affect my criminal record in Canada? Yes. The fact that you were charged will still show up on your criminal record even if your charges were stayed. You need to take steps to remove your criminal record. A stayed criminal charge means that your guilt or innocence was never determined. Your case is put on hold for 1 year, during which the Crown can bring back your criminal charge into the court system. If the court does not bring your case back within 1 year, your case is over. A stayed charge is referred to as a non-conviction. The RCMP's criminal records database, known as the CPIC system, still contains information about your non-conviction, such as fingerprints, photographs, and information about your charge. The RCMP's CPIC system is used for criminal background checks and police record checks in Canada, which means your non-conviction will show up. To remove the traces of your charge, in other words, fingerprints, photographs, and other information about your charge, you must get a file destruction. The file destruction will destroy all traces of your charge, so your criminal background check or police record check in Canada will come back clean. If your charges are dismissed, do you have a criminal record in Canada? Yes. Even after your criminal charges are dismissed, you still have a criminal record in Canada. You need to take steps to remove your criminal record. If your charges are dismissed, it means that the judge decided not to proceed with your case, usually because of insufficient evidence. Your dismissed charges are referred to as a non-conviction. Despite being dismissed, your non-conviction charges remain on your criminal record. The RCMP's criminal record database, known as the CPIC system, still contains information about your non-conviction, such as fingerprints, photographs, and information about your charge. The RCMP's CPIC system is used for criminal background checks and police record checks in Canada, which means your non-conviction will show up. To remove the traces of your charge, in other words, fingerprints, photographs, and other information about your charge, you must get a file destruction. The file destruction will destroy all traces of the charge, so your police record check or RCMP criminal background check in Canada will come back clean. Do you have a criminal record if found not guilty? Yes. Even if you were found not guilty of your charges, you have a criminal record. You need to take steps to remove your criminal record. If you were found not guilty of a crime, your case went to trial and a judge or jury found you not guilty. A not guilty outcome is known as a non-conviction. The details of your non-conviction are on your criminal record in the RCMP's criminal records database, known as the CPIC system. This means your fingerprints, photographs, and details about your disposition are still on your criminal record. The RCMP's CPIC system is used for criminal background checks in Canada and police record checks in Canada, which means your non-conviction will show up. To remove the traces of your charge, in other words, fingerprints, photographs, and other information about your charge, you must get a file destruction. The file destruction will destroy all traces of the charge, so your RCMP and police background checks in Canada will come back clean. Will my peace bond show up on a criminal background check in Canada? Yes. A peace bond will show as a police record on your criminal background check in Canada. In some assault cases, the Crown will offer to withdraw your assault charge if you enter into a peace bond. A peace bond is a court order that orders you to keep the peace and be on good behavior for a certain period of time. One of the big advantages of a peace bond is that you don't get a criminal conviction and there is no finding of guilt. So yes, your peace bond won't show up as a conviction on a criminal background check. But a peace bond is a non-conviction and will show up on a criminal record check as someone who was charged but not convicted. So for the person or company conducting the police background check, they will see your criminal activity because the peace bond is a non-conviction police record. And you need to get a file destruction to remove traces of your peace bond.